Now, if you're a beneficiary of the 350 Rand Covid-19 social relief grant, you have to reapply to get a payout in May. That's because new regulations have taken over after the lifting of the national state of disaster. Let's get more details on this from the spokesperson of the South African Social Security Agency, Paseka Letsatsi. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Letsatsi. Let's maybe start with that application process and exactly how it is going to work for those who wish to apply for that grant.
Let me say good morning and thanks for having us. Basically, because we were using the national state of disaster, which was basically lifted, we are now using the new legislative framework, which is the social assistance. People have to do the application basically the same way which they were doing through our website, or they can actually use the WhatsApp line so that we can then be able to process and disburse the 350 within that particular social assistance legislative framework.
Yeah, absolutely. And following this process, how long would it take for an application to be approved?
We do the validation process every month, but what we simply do is to make a payment just after we have done the normal social grant payment, which basically takes place every third of the month. We then do the payment around the 6th to the 10th of every month. The intention here is to make sure that we do not necessarily have everybody flocking to the banks or flocking to the post office or flocking to retail stores at the same time. We're trying to make sure that we separate the two, but the other intention as well is to make sure that we do whatever that we can do to make sure that we contribute towards fighting the scourge or fighting the spread of the COVID-19.
No, absolutely. And what would constitute a rejection? We've been reporting for about a week now that this application process will be coming into effect, and it would have to, those who apply have to be really the most needy within the country. So what exactly does that mean, and what would a rejection constitute?
People get rejected if they've got a source of income, because it stipulates very clear that if you have to apply, you must not have any source of income. But we basically work as one with other government departments and government entities. In this instance, we check if you do not benefit. We might have people who are benefiting from UIF, who might be benefiting from NSFAS, who might be having a particular income be above the threshold which is stipulated. So if you have that particular income, or if you have given us the details which do not necessarily match when we do checks with the Home Affairs and the banks and so on, the system will basically reject you. So what we are just appealing is that if people make an application, please make sure that your details are right. Give us your banking details so that we can then be able to process the 350 payment as quick as possible.
No, absolutely. Are you going to find, do you anticipate, under the new regulatory framework, that you're going to have more or less people applying for this particular grant?
Look, I think we may not predict that, but we think the numbers might be lesser, in a sense that some people's condition might have changed. You might find that people have gone back to work. Others would not apply because there's whatever source of income which they are getting. So we think that we can play around the numbers, but what we can tell you that as Friday, we had more than 7.5 million people who had already made an application.
No, absolutely. Now, the last time when the grant was initiated, we did see that there were some issues with your systems, a crash in the systems. Has this been looked at, and are you finding that you are confident that this will not be happening this time around when the application process kicks off?
No, we are confident that we are not going to experience those problems this time around. Remember, we've been doing this thing for 2 years now. And we accept that at the beginning there were glitches because the system was new and so on. But we are happy as we speak, and confidently I can say that we have a well-oiled machinery which is able to take whatever number of applications And I think our IT system is such that it's ready to make sure that we do not necessarily have or experience those problems which we experienced 2 years ago.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for providing that clarity for us, Mr. Paseka Letsatsi, who is a spokesperson for the South African Social Security Agency, talking about the application process when it kicks off, the criteria, as well as what would constitute a rejection of that application.